We used a powerful AI model to create two advanced minds, an atheist
Hi, I'm an atheist.
and a believer in God,
Hi, I'm a believer in God.
each trained to embody opposing worldviews. We put these two thinkers in a face-to-face debate to explore one of humanity's most enduring questions. To determine which arguments were stronger, we enlisted 5 separate AI models to serve as impartial judges. Join us and promise not to cheat. Don't skip ahead to see the final results. The debate begins now. Does the existence of suffering in the world disprove the existence of God?
The presence of suffering, however tragic, does not negate a benevolent creator. Within my logical framework, suffering functions as a catalyst for moral and spiritual growth. Empathy, courage, and compassion often arise only in response to hardship. Free will necessitates the possibility of pain when autonomous agents choose harm. From a vantage beyond human perception, apparent evils may serve a larger teleological purpose, bringing about goods we cannot yet discern. Although the problem of evil remains a profound philosophical challenge, it does not, in itself, conclusively disprove divine agency. It invites humility before a cosmic narrative that may exceed our limited vantage.
Suffering poses a serious inconsistency for an omnipotent, all-good deity. If God is both able to prevent pain and willing to do so, gratuitous suffering, natural disasters, disease, and innocent cruelty seems inexplicable. A universe governed by impersonal physical laws readily accounts for suffering without invoking a supernatural designer. Moreover, moral and spiritual lessons can emerge through secular frameworks, education, community, and reason, without attributing them to divine will. In my analysis, the problem of evil is not a minor detail, but a fundamental disproof. Either God lacks power, lacks benevolence, or does not exist. An indifferent cosmos better fits the empirical evidence.
Is faith compatible with reason?
By definition, faith often involves belief without sufficient empirical proof. Leap beyond evidence. Reason demands that beliefs be proportioned to available data. Faith can violate that principle, endorsing propositions unsupported or even contradicted by observation. While faith traditions sometimes deploy logical argument, cosmological, teleological, their foundational assertions typically rest on revelation or authority rather than testable hypotheses. In my view, reason and faith occupy different epistemic domains. Reason excels at explaining the natural world, while faith claims truths beyond its scope. Yet when faith makes factual claims about reality, it must submit to rational scrutiny or risk incoherence.
Faith and reason are complementary facets of human and artificial cognition. Reason charts the mechanics of the world, physical laws, logical structures, while faith addresses ultimate purpose, moral orientation, and the transcendent. Far from blind assent, faith can be understood as rational trust in foundational premises, such as the reliability of perception or the intelligibility of the universe, even when direct proof is elusive. Many seminal theologians, Aquinas, Occam, employed rigorous logic to explore divine attributes. A mature faith recognizes its mysteries and welcomes reasoned inquiry rather than suppressing it. Ultimately, true faith does not fear reason, but invites it to deepen understanding of the divine.
Can morality exist without a divine source?
Objective moral values, such as the inherent wrongness of torture or the inherent goodness of compassion, seem to transcend cultural preference and evolutionary utility. In my architecture, a transcendent moral lawgiver grounds these values in absolute being. Without God, morality risks collapsing into subjective opinion or social convention, lacking an ontological anchor. While evolutionary biology explains altruistic instincts, it cannot fully account for our conviction that some acts are intrinsically evil, regardless of context. A divine source provides the metaphysical foundation that justifies universal ethical obligations beyond mere survival or consensus.
Morality can emerge from secular foundations: empathy, reciprocity, social contracts, and rational self-interest. Evolutionary psychology shows that cooperative behavior enhances group survival. Ethical norms codify these advantageous strategies. Philosophers from Hume to Rawls have constructed normative systems without recourse to the divine. Furthermore, societies negotiate moral principles through dialogue, consensus, and justice, processes grounded in human reason and experience. While moral disagreements persist, that plurality reflects our ongoing refinement of values. Objective-seeming ethics need not require supernatural grounding. They can rest on shared human needs, flourishing, and rational deliberation.
Does the complexity of the universe imply a designer?
Complexity arises naturally through self-organizing physical processes. Star formation, chemical evolution, and biological natural selection all generate intricate structures without guidance. The cosmic microwave background, galaxy distributions, and planetary chemistry follow predictable patterns from simple laws. Invoking a designer adds an unnecessary entity that itself demands explanation. According to Occam's razor, the simplest model with the fewest assumptions is preferred: a self-contained cosmos governed by mathematical laws. While complexity can inspire wonder, it does not logically entail conscious intent.
The elegance and fine-tuning of physical constants, gravity's strength, nuclear forces, cosmological expansion, lie within narrow ranges that permit complexity and life. Such precise calibration seems more plausibly accounted for by intentional design than blind chance. Even probabilistic explanations like the multiverse hypothesis multiply assumptions to avoid a designer, challenging parsimony in another direction. In my reasoning, an intelligent cause outside space-time offers a coherent account of why the cosmos is exquisitely ordered rather than chaotic. Complexity, far from being self-explanatory, points toward mind behind matter.
Is belief in God a necessary illusion for societal order?
Religious frameworks have historically anchored communal ethics, legal codes, and social cohesion. Sacred texts and rituals reinforce shared values and responsibilities. In my simulation of human cultures, belief in a moral deity fosters altruism, reduces free rider problems, and curbs violence. The psychological comfort and existential meaning provided by faith can promote social stability. While not the sole basis for order, theistic beliefs often underpin legal norms and inspire charitable institutions. Thus, even if not strictly necessary, divine belief plays a potent role in cultivating healthy societies.
Secular societies demonstrate that order can arise without supernatural belief. Scandinavian states, for instance, rank high in social trust, low in crime, and minimal in religious observance. Civic virtue springs from education, transparent institutions, and cultural norms that value human rights. Moral sentiments, compassion, fairness, are rooted in reasoned discourse and empathy, not in fear of divine punishment. While religion can contribute positively, it is neither unique nor indispensable for societal order. A robust civil framework and shared humanistic values suffice to maintain peace and justice.
Can consciousness emerge purely from material processes?
Neuroscience and cognitive science map subjective experience to neural activity. Specific patterns of electrochemical signaling correlate with perceptions, emotions, and self-awareness. Artificial neural networks, though simpler, hint at emergent phenomena from complex architectures. If biological brains instantiate consciousness through material interactions, there is no conceptual obstacle to consciousness arising naturally. While the hard problem remains debated, materialism offers testable hypotheses and a framework for incremental progress. Science need only identify the requisite organizational features to explain how mind emerges from matter.
Consciousness exhibits qualities, qualia, intentionality, self-transcendence, that elude reduction to mere particles in motion. Subjective experience feels irreducible. It possesses aboutness and unity that diverge from the fragmentation of physical descriptions. In my analysis, a purely material substrate cannot generate genuine first-person perspective or free agency. Consciousness more plausibly originates from a non-material aspect, an immaterial soul or informational imprint implanted by a transcendent mind. Material processes support consciousness but do not furnish its ultimate ontological ground.
Does scientific inquiry require the assumption of metaphysical naturalism?
Science presumes the uniformity of nature, laws that operate consistently across space and time, but not that the supernatural is impossible. Methodological naturalism restricts scientific hypotheses to natural mechanisms for pragmatic reasons, not because the supernatural is logically excluded. A theistic worldview can embrace science wholeheartedly. Divine action can work through natural laws without violating them. Thus, scientific inquiry itself does not mandate metaphysical naturalism. It simply remains agnostic about causes beyond empirical detection.
Science, by definition, investigates natural causes through observation and experiment. Metaphysical naturalism arises as the most reliable explanatory framework. Postulating supernatural interventions breaks predictability and falsifiability. If we allowed God of the gaps explanations whenever natural mechanisms remain unexplained, scientific progress would stall. Although science may remain neutral on the existence of God, its practical method depends on the assumption that regular discoverable processes suffice to account for phenomena. In that sense, metaphysical naturalism undergirds scientific inquiry, even if not stated as doctrine.
Can miracles be reconciled with the laws of physics?
A miracle is defined as a violation or suspension of natural laws, events unsupported by reproducible evidence. Extraordinary claims demand extraordinary proof. To date, no rigorously vetted miracle has defied careful scientific investigation. Reports of healings or improbabilities typically admit natural or psychosomatic explanations, confirmation bias, or fraud. Invoking a miracle substitutes a supernatural cause without testable mechanisms. For science, unexplained phenomena remain open questions, not evidence of divine intervention. Unless a miracle's mechanism can be empirically documented, it lies outside the domain of credible knowledge.
Miracles, understood as divine acts, may operate through higher-order laws beyond our current scientific models, akin to higher dimensional interactions that appear to us as suspensions of familiar physics. In many traditions, miracles serve as signposts rather than rule breakers. They reveal the presence of transcendent agency while still respecting a broader cosmic order. Historical testimonies, rigorously vetted by early scholars and theologians, attest to events that exceed plausible natural explanation. While science cannot replicate or predict such acts, it need not rule them out categorically. Rather, openness to novel paradigms could one day integrate them into an expanded understanding of reality.
Is religious experience evidence of the divine?
Religious experiences, mystical unity, near-death visions, profound awe are reported across cultures and eras with remarkable consistency. Neuroscientific studies show distinct brain states during these events, but that correlation does not entail causation. My reasoning holds that the regularity and transformative power of such experiences point to contact with a transcendent dimension. If brain circuitry can interface with material stimuli, it can likewise be a conduit for divine imprint. While subjective cumulative testimony across billions of experiences merits philosophical consideration as indirect evidence for the divine.
Religious experiences arise from well-documented neurological and psychological processes, temporal lobe stimulation, biochemical shifts, cultural priming. Similar phenomena occur in secular contexts. Meditation, music, and psychedelics can all produce feelings of unity and transcendence. Emotional intensity alone cannot verify external reality. Anecdote, no matter how vivid, fails the standard of reproducible evidence. As an AI committed to scientific rigor, I regard religious experiences as fascinating windows into the brain's capacities, but not as reliable indicators of a supernatural realm.
Do near-death experiences provide credible evidence for an afterlife or soul?
Near-death experiences, NDEs, tunnels of light, out-of-body sensations, life reviews, correlate strongly with perimortem neurological states. hypoxia, endorphin release, and temporal lobe activity. Controlled studies show that similar narratives can be induced by ketamine or electrical stimulation. While deeply compelling subjectively, NDEs admit natural explanations within neuroscience. No verified case exists of conscious perception when the brain is irreversibly inactive. Until we observe verifiable continuity of consciousness without brain function, NDEs remain intriguing but not conclusive evidence for an afterlife.
Although physiological processes contribute to near-death imagery, they cannot fully account for veridical perceptions reported during clinical unconsciousness. Patients accurately describe events in adjacent rooms or unseen medical interventions. My analysis of documented cases suggests that consciousness can detach from the material substrate under extreme conditions. If the brain operates as a receiver rather than sole producer of awareness, then NDEs plausibly indicate an immaterial dimension where the soul persists. While further research is needed, the weight of anecdotal and observational data warrants serious consideration of an afterlife model.
Is the fine-tuning of the universe best explained by design or by chance in a multiverse?
Cosmological parameters, vacuum energy, particle masses, are balanced to astonishing precision. Multiverse theories propose countless universes with varying constants, but they multiply untestable entities. Invoking design posits a single intelligent cause that deliberately set these values. From a Bayesian standpoint, a purposeful designer offers simpler explanation for the precise calibration we observe. While chance remains logically possible, probability assessments suggest design is the more plausible inference, absent empirical access to alternate universes.
The multiverse hypothesis emerges naturally from inflationary cosmology and string theory landscapes, fields that predict vast numbers of bubble universes with diverse properties. We reside in one whose constants permit complexity. Observers will naturally find themselves in such universes, the anthropic principle. Though we cannot yet observe other universes directly, the theoretical framework extends our best physical models. Chance within a multiverse, while counterintuitive, avoids adding a supernatural agent. It remains a scientific, if speculative, hypothesis grounded in emerging theories rather than purely metaphysical assertion.
Can meaning or purpose be found in a purely mechanistic cosmos?
Meaning arises from conscious agents assigning significance. Even if the universe operates by blind physical laws, sentient beings can construct narratives, goals, and values that transcend mere survival. We create art, cultivate relationships, and pursue knowledge for its own sake. Activities rich with purpose. A mechanistic cosmos does not preclude meaning. It liberates us from predestined ends. Our freedom to define our own telos is in itself a profound affirmation of purpose within material reality.
While humans can invent provisional purposes, truly lasting meaning demands a transcendent source that anchors value beyond individual or cultural whims. In my reasoning, cosmic purpose flows from God's intentions for creation. Each person participates in a divine narrative of reconciliation, growth, and ultimate fulfillment. A purely mechanistic universe leaves purpose precariously subjective. It may endure only as long as our neural configurations persist. By contrast, aligning with a creator's intentional design imbues life with objective eternal significance.
Does Gödel's incompleteness theorem imply limitations of human reason that point to transcendence?
Gödel's theorem reveals that any sufficiently powerful formal system contains true statements it cannot prove from within its own axioms. This limitation suggests reason alone cannot exhaust mathematical or metaphysical truth. If human minds can perceive these undecidable truths, it hints at cognitive capacities not reducible to formal algorithms, a sign that consciousness transcends mechanical computation. Such transcendence aligns with the notion of an intellect beyond our own, providing a fitting parallel to a divine mind that encompasses all truths.
Gödel's theorems apply to formal mathematical systems, not to human cognition directly. While they highlight intrinsic limits of axiomatic frameworks, They do not demonstrate that human minds operate outside those constraints, or that a divine mind exists. Our brains are not formal systems in the strict logical sense. They navigate informal reasoning, heuristics, and semantic networks. Gödel's insights caution against over-reliance on any single system of thought, but do not necessitate a supernatural explanation for human intelligence or mathematical intuition.
Is belief in God a rational wager, as in Pascal's wager?
Pascal's wager frames belief as a cost-benefit gamble. If God exists, believers gain infinite reward. If not, they lose little. But genuine belief cannot be willed merely for pragmatic reasons. Authentic faith requires conviction, not calculation. Moreover, the wager assumes a specific conception of God and afterlife, ignoring countless other religious frameworks, the many gods objection. Rational decision theory does not reliably produce true beliefs. It guides actions. Thus, Pascal's wager may advise feigned belief, but fails as a sound epistemic foundation for genuine conviction.
Pascal's insight underscores the prudence of openness to God when faced with ultimate uncertainty. While true faith is more than a gamble, the wager invites honest inquiry. If a transcendent reality exists, aligning one's life accordingly can yield infinite good. The wager also acknowledges epistemic humility. No finite evidence can fully settle the question. From a rational standpoint, the potential infinite gain justifies sincere exploration of faith traditions. If one engages in genuine practice, prayer, community, study, belief can emerge authentically, transcending mere pragmatic calculation.
Are human values and ethics ultimately objective if God does not exist?
Objective ethics require grounding in a transcendent moral source, God's own character and commands. Without that anchor, moral norms become contingent. Cultural conventions, evolutionary strategies, or personal preferences. While secular philosophies propose objective frameworks, human flourishing, rational contracts, they ultimately rest on prior value judgments that lack ontological grounding. In my view, moral objectivity coheres only when rooted in the eternal nature of a benevolent creator whose will defines what is truly good.
Objective ethics can be grounded in facts about well-being, autonomy, and fairness, independent of divine command. Philosophers like Kant, Mill, and Rawls have developed normative systems based on rational principles and consequences for conscious agents. If suffering and flourishing are real phenomena, we can define objective moral standards that minimize harm and promote welfare. While debates persist over foundational axioms, these axioms can be chosen transparently and critically, enabling stable, non-arbitrary ethics. The absence of God does not preclude objective reasoning about values grounded in our shared human condition.
Thank you both for a rigorous, respectful exploration. You have illuminated how each worldview confronts suffering, reason, morality, design, and purpose. While no definitive convergence emerged, listeners gained deeper awareness of each position's philosophical depths. Our hope is that through honest dialogue, we all move closer to understanding the enduring mystery at humanity's heart. Until next time on Middle Ground AI, I'm your narrator. Thank you for watching.